Hi, welcome to part 5 of Breaking Bias, where we're looking at artificial intelligence and how to avoid baked-in bias. You may have seen over in the UK recently that the Home Office came under fire for releasing a passport system that struggled to work on black and ethnic faces. From what we've talked about so far, we can probably trace that problem back to the training data, and we can say that the system wasn't trained on black and ethnic faces. But there was a line in their press statement about this issue that really caught my attention. User research was carried out with a wide range of ethnic groups and did identify that people with light or very dark skin found it difficult to provide an acceptable passport photograph, the FOI response stated. So they knew it was a problem. However, the overall performance was judged sufficient to deploy. So they decided that being black and ethnic was a phase 2 issue? Let's just let that sink in. Now, I may be going out on a limb here, but I'm going to say that the people in the room that decided that that was a phase 2 issue were white. Because a majority will often see themselves as default and that they are the primary case, everyone else is an edge case and something to be dealt with later. Which leads us to our bigger problem. We need to talk about our teams, diversity, and starting to get away from Silicon Valley tech bro culture. Let's go back to Google and have a look at the teams that have been working on these Google photo sorting apps and Google Translate.
As you can see, Google is predominantly made up of men. And when it comes to ethnicity, it's predominantly white. Their racial diversity is mostly Asian, with only 2% being black.
So it's not surprising that when they came to develop this photo sorting app, problems with working on black faces wasn't at the forefront of their minds. And this is a problem across the whole tech industry at every level. And it's a particular problem in AI right now because there is a lot of money going into AI startups. Forbes estimated $9.33 billion went into AI startups, and that was in 2018. It's set to be much higher now. And who do you think decides on who gets that startup money? It's predominantly white men. The projects that jump out at them and hold value will be the ones that resonate with their worldview and their experiences so far. The startups dealing with societal issues that they've never encountered will often go ignored because they won't be able to see the value in it. So what's getting all the AI money at the moment? Well, it's fitness apps, healthy eating apps, taxi and ride shares, everything a Silicon Valley tech bro could need. And so that divide grows. Or as Sacha Baron Cohen recently said,
This is ideological imperialism.
And the problem is that companies that have been invested in by white men, founded by them, managed, day-to-day life run by white men, means that bias can creep in almost at every single stage. Take Google, for instance. The white men who were responsible for that training data probably didn't even think to make sure that it worked on a wide variety of faces. The white men who were building it probably thought that it was working fine when looking at themselves and probably testing on their friends and colleagues. And when it hits the testing team, they probably sign it off as all working fine. And before you know it, you have a photo app that is categorizing black people as gorillas. Now, this is a problem for the whole tech industry. White men dictate features and prioritize functionality that resonates with their worldview, which is possibly why Twitter didn't have a report abuse button for the first 6 years. Other things were prioritized above that, and that's probably because white men don't encounter the same type of abuse that women do and people of color encounter on a daily basis. It just never registered as a priority. And it's possibly why all the virtual assistants that are flooding the marketplace right now all come with a female voice as standard. And for those of you saying, yes, but you can change those voices to be male voices, I would also remind you that less than 5% of people ever change default settings. This is bias by default. And the more products we get, the more standardized it becomes and the more that bias embeds. And so as these AI companies take more and more control and become more and more integrated in our lives, it ultimately becomes a question of power, as it's the white men that decide what features get developed and which ones don't, who gets served, who doesn't, who can get access to education, who can't, who has a positive interaction with technology, who is excluded, who's MVP, and who is an edge case. And they are creating systems that literally may not work depending on the color of your skin. These are discriminating systems designed by white men, ultimately for white men. And it may be an accident that these things were created in the first place, but it's not a coincidence that they run parallel to the same problems we're facing in society right now around gender and race. And so that final step is a step towards equality, and it's a societal change. and to an active program of inclusion in our workforce and in the teams that build these AI systems. So where do we even start doing that? And that's what we're going to have a look at next.